Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of Region. Rage, my co-host, is not with us today. Hopefully, you guys will be hopping on here in just a moment. This is back to our regularly scheduled time. I know we had some issues last week. You guys did not get the memo that we were starting an hour early at 8:30, but back to 9:30 now. And so a lot to talk about today. Maybe a little bit shorter episode since it's just going to be me. If you would, before I get into anything else, like and subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We got the numbers the other day, and 65% of you that have been listening over the last couple of months have not subscribed. So if you would, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when we are coming out with another video. But very exciting times as far as in Ohio State football. Very exciting times for the Big Ten as a conference. We are as a conference at a place that we haven't been at in years. This really started last year, like it or not, with Michigan winning the national championship and dethroning the power out of the Southeastern Conference, last year being Alabama. Those Southeastern powers have all been vanquished thus far in this playoff, with the exception of course, the Texas Longhorns. And our Ohio State Buckeyes are going to give them their best shot here soon. Now, we're not going to get into a Texas preview. I'm going to wait for Jay to get back for that. But we're just going to discuss kind of the weekend that took place, the craziness in New Orleans. I was there, not far from where all of that took place. Fortunately, I was a couple of hours ahead of time. Since then, they have, of course, found out that he was putting explosive devices all around the French Quarter, and I assume even Bourbon Street. And so I don't know if the details on that, if they just didn't go off, if there was a misfire, if he wasn't able to detonate them. I'm assuming, seeing the videos of him putting these coolers of explosive devices around the French Quarter and Bourbon Street, that probably in the path there to where we went that evening and the path back to the hotel, probably passed by some of those explosives. So I'm thankful that for whatever reason, they were not able to detonate them. The next day, we were sitting at Manning's Sports Bar, and we did hear something detonate, which was kind of concerning, but evidently it was just the bomb squad safely detonating some of those devices in a contained area. But it was a crazy, crazy time. The game was postponed, of course. I did end up going to that Sugar Bowl game, and we'll discuss that maybe a little bit just in terms of what things look like. But the Georgia Bulldogs fell. It is a almost all Midwest Final Four, something that 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago we would not have dreamed of. You've got Notre Dame, not a Big Ten team, of course, but very much a Midwest team. You've got Penn State, you've got the Buckeyes, and you have the Texas Longhorns. So no really traditional SEC powers in this Final Four. Of course, Texas could still win a national championship and allow the SEC to reclaim the throne. But the odds are in the favor of a Midwest team taking this. And after that performance from the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl against the Oregon Ducks, the number one team in the country, the Buckeyes are far and away the favorite to win the national championship. Before we go on further, read a couple of comments. Nick says, looks like Ohio is going to win a title this year after Michigan. Whatever happens, Notre Dame cannot win. That would be a disaster. Yeah, Nick, it does look like that. I think Nick's one of our Michigan fans that hops on. Got a couple of SEC taunts here from Bob Adams, SEC. James WNIL, SEC is not the only conference that pays players now. SEC dominance is over. That's a good point. And it is certainly a striking coincidence that within a few years of everybody being able to, pay players, that the gap between the Big Ten and the SEC is closing. And you could make the argument at this point that possibly the Big Ten has certainly overtaken the SEC. Slip and Skippy, this playoff saved Franklin and Day's jobs. Certainly, went a long way in both of those. Franklin, I don't know what would have happened if he would have, I don't know if he would have been fired if he lost the first round, but there would have been a lot of heat. The fans were already tired of losing all the big games. He got booed off of his own field, when Ohio State beat him. Same with Day. I don't really know what would have happened if he would have lost to Tennessee. Certainly, I don't think that probably, the outcome of the Oregon game necessarily mattered as far as his job. However, it certainly matters as far as the fan base. And the excitement and the way that people feel and, the way that he is being perceived. These two games have absolutely elevated him in dramatic fashion. And we look primed and ready to go into this national championship run. Where is Rage? Okay, yes, I was going to get into that. He had to, as you know, from last episode, he was having the the baby. They did not know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. It is a little boy, and he is doing pretty well, but he had to go back in for some precautionary monitoring to the hospital. So him and his wife are there at the hospital. So there's obviously no way that he could be on the show tonight. This was something that just kind of came up, nothing that could be done about that. So our prayers are with him and his brand new baby boy, that everything will go well, and they're anticipating getting released tomorrow. So that's where he is. He'll be back, hopefully next episode, and we'll be doing the regular Wednesday night, and that's when we'll do the Texas preview. But let's talk about this a little bit. First and foremost, Slip and Skippy says this Friday will be the national championship game. Yeah, but it could be. Let's talk about that here in a minute. Big Ten has 3 of the best 4 teams in the country, and the others Notre Dame. That's Bob Adams. Yeah, I agree. And so I got to see Notre Dame live. Got to see a really good view of their team, and so I've got some thoughts on them. Texas, I got to watch that whole game as well. Not like seeing a team live, but certainly I've seen Texas play a few games this year. So this is not a team that I think is going to surprise, well, at least not me, with what they do. I've seen them play multiple times. They're a good team. They're not as good as Ohio State. That's the bottom line. I don't think that's breaking news. I don't think that's a hot take. They're not as good as Ohio State. If they play a good game and Ohio State plays a good game, Ohio State wins. If they play a great game and Ohio State plays a good game, Ohio State probably still wins. If Ohio State plays a mediocre game and Texas plays a great game, then Texas obviously can beat them. They are a formidable opponent. I don't expect nobody, I don't think, expects another blowout, but I do think that they can take it to them. And I think that Texas offense is going to have a lot of trouble putting significant points on the board, because the Ohio State defense is better than the Georgia defense. I saw that live. I just watched the Ohio State defense play live in Ohio Stadium a few weeks back, and I just watched the Georgia defense play live at the Sugar Bowl. The Ohio State defense is a better defense than Georgia. How much better? I don't know. We can debate that, but they're a better defense. And Texas really struggled to move the ball on Georgia. Texas, was kind of spotty against Arizona State, and obviously came back and tied that by the skin of their teeth. How that was not targeting, I don't know, because to me it was textbook targeting. If it hadn't have been Arizona, this is kind of where it almost makes you wonder. If that would have been Arizona State defensive player with Texas going for the game-winning drive, and he lowers it, and he comes straight in head-to-head, makes helmet-to-helmet contact, pretty much everybody thought that it was targeting. For some reason, the refs decided it wasn't targeting this time. But I wonder if it was the Arizona State defender that did that for Texas, and they were trying to drive to win the game, if the call would have been called. Because it just seems like too convenient that we want to get Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State. We want to get as many of these big boys in this Final Four as possible. I don't know. I'm not trying to drum up a conspiracy, but it certainly looked like targeting to me, and it probably would have spelled the end of the Texas Longhorns season if that targeting call is made. Slip and Skippy, Scattaboo ran all over Texas. Bob Adams, ESPN needed Texas to win. That's why no targeting. Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems that way. I mean, that's been called targeting like since they came with the rule. Was it like a vicious, dirty hit? No, not necessarily, but it was targeting. It was targeting by the letter of the law. So, I don't know what they were doing on that. But so we're looking at Texas. But before we get into that next week, let's kind of discuss this Oregon game a little bit. Obviously came out, exceeded probably everybody's expectation. For how they were going to perform. You guys were on here last week when I picked Ohio State to beat Oregon 28-26. Clearly, they beat them far worse than that. The offense was just able to continue what it did against Tennessee. And so I think that when we look at the offense that this team has had this year, it's frustrated a lot of us because, quite frankly, it's been kind of clunky a lot of the season. It hasn't looked like we thought it should look. Maybe some people were over the top with it. I don't know. But certainly, many of us felt that the roster that this team had, the offense that this team had, the weapons that they had, we knew the offensive line was a little bit of a question mark, but had McLaughlin and Simmons not gotten hurt, the offensive line actually would have been very good. And at this stage, with the way that they're calling things and the way that they're kind of scheming around that offensive line, it's still, looking not bad. It's not a dominating offensive line. I don't think they're not going to just line up on Notre Dame if they played them in the national championship and run on them the way that they tried to do at times this year, like the Nebraska game, the Michigan game. There may be another one I'm forgetting. I don't think they're going to do that against Texas. I think Texas front seven or, front six is probably too good for that. They're not a dominating offensive line, but they're a functional and a competent offensive line, and they're able to get the job done because of the way that this offense has kind of evolved. Chip Kelly obviously is known for his run game. He likes to run it. He's known for what he can do with two backs. We saw a little bit of that against Oregon. He had a nice play where it was a two-back set. Trey was the lead blocker for Quinshon. Got about 5 or 6 yards. So he hasn't used a lot of two-back sets, but what he did do is he used a lot of misdirection in his run game. And he kind of used that to set up the pass game oftentimes when he was at Oregon. So I don't know if it was a bit of a conflict between Ryan Day's kind of pass-first offense, which developed certainly under C.J. Stroud, and you also saw it even Ryan Day as the head coach when he was the offensive coordinator under Urban Meyer. You saw that pass-first kind of approach with a quarterback like Dwayne Haskins. The last couple of years, the offense has struggled at times to seem like it really had an identity. Clearly, we were trying to run the ball. We weren't always doing it successfully, and things just kind of bogged down a lot. But what we have seen in the last 2 games, and at this point, after the Tennessee game, I was like, well, I hope this wasn't a one-off, because literally, like, we hadn't seen the offense look like that all year. So I thought, I hope this isn't a one-off. But it wasn't. And so at this point, after 2 of these, with Tennessee being a good team, with Oregon being an elite team, they are an elite team. They are one of the top 3 teams in the country. Are they the second best team in the country? Maybe. Are they better than Texas? Probably. I don't know. I don't guess we'll ever know, but they're right there. They are one of the best teams in the country. And we looked the way we looked. And so with 2 games under their belt, I feel confident what this looks like going forward because they have found a way to blend the Ryan Day pass first that this team needs to open up the run, because they just don't have the type of dominating run game to let the run open up the pass. And it's clear that they came to that conclusion the Tennessee game. It's clear they kind of came to that conclusion this game. And the interesting thing is they're not running much different on their actual ratios of run to pass. They're running about the same amount of time as they did all season. They're passing about the same amount of time they did all season. They are just timing it differently. They're setting up that run. They're being opportunistic to when it's time to attack that run. And Chip Kelly is using some of that misdirection that he used at Oregon. He's getting the defense going this way, and he's throwing short passes back into the flat this way. Obviously, getting athletes in space. That's what Chip Kelly did at Oregon. He did it with typically rosters that were ranked somewhere between about the 9th or 10th and the 12th or 14th or 15th best rosters in the country. He had good talent when he did this. He did not have elite talent. He schemed people into close games. He schemed people into closing that talent gap. And now you're seeing, Ryan Day's passing game kind of seamlessly interacting with Chip Kelly's kind of misdirection run game. And they're using that pass to set up the run. We'll never know what conversations they had. We'll never know how they came to this conclusion after the Michigan loss. At least probably not. Maybe information will get out there. But the point is, it's clicking at a very high level right now. And personally, I think it's going to continue to click. Now, is it going to click exactly on a 10 out of 10 every game? No, it's not. But it doesn't have to. As long as it keeps clicking at about an 8 out of 10 or better, they can beat anybody left on their schedule. They can beat Texas. We know they beat Penn State before their offense was clicking. Now, we're playing better. Penn State's playing better. Penn State is a formidable team. Notre Dame is a formidable team. We're not going to have to play both of them. We're only going to have to play one, assuming we can take care of the Longhorns. But since we're going to get into the Longhorns next time, let me spend a couple of minutes on Notre Dame, because assuming we can take care of business against Texas, then there's a very strong possibility we play Notre Dame. Penn State may be better than Notre Dame. After seeing Notre Dame live, I like Penn State's offense better than Notre Dame. Notre Dame's defense is very good. This is the best Notre Dame defense that there has been in quite a while. All right, let's take a couple of comments before we get into this any deeper. If Gabriel wasn't such a good scrambler, this is by James W. Buckeyes would have had 13 sacks against most college quarterbacks. The D was playing with their hair on fire. Yeah, absolutely. What a difference between Eugene and what we saw in Pasadena from the defense. Eugene, it was we were not able to get any pressure, and we didn't blitz that much. We blitzed maybe 4 or 5 plays. I don't even know if we blitzed that many plays, but we are stunting. We are our ends are stemming. They're running twists, and they're running various things. They're simulating some pressure with some of these looks, and clearly they found a formula that they had not found for many games, that they are now getting pressure primarily rushing for, and that's huge. If you need to blitz, you've got it there in your back pocket. Jim Knowles is certainly willing to do it. It's clear he doesn't want to overuse that at this point. He's not wanting to repeat, a 2022 Michigan performance. He's not wanting to repeat a 2022 Georgia performance where you give these big plays in big games. But when it's needed, he is dialing up some pressure, and it wasn't really needed that much this game. That was the great thing. Is Texas's offensive line that much better than Oregon's? No, it's not. And Texas has some big boys that are out. Their best offensive lineman is out. So they're dealing with the situation very much like the Buckeyes are. So hopefully the defensive line can be opportunistic against this somewhat beleaguered Texas offensive line. That's not to say it's not still pretty good, but I think that we have an advantage there. Slip and Skippy, let's not forget about our fans making it sound like a home game as well. Yeah, that was a little hard for me to tell because I was watching the game at Manning Sports Bar, and the way that the sound was in that place was a little bit odd. I could certainly tell there was a lot of Ohio State fans there, but evidently Slip and Skippy is telling us that they were making a lot of noise. Slip and Skippy, Jeremiah Smith is the offense. Well, yeah, I mean he's a big part. I mean he makes it extremely difficult, and if and you've obviously got Tate who hasn't really gotten untracked, but you've got Emeka who has gotten untracked and played very well against both Tennessee and Oregon. Had the very nice touchdown pass. Will Howard had the nice touchdown pass to Emeka, and I think we've seen the coaches gain a little bit of confidence in Will Howard throwing the deep ball, or possibly going into the Tennessee game, they just felt the only chance we have to succeed at the level we want to is to be able to throw this ball. So we're just going to throw it. And maybe that's what they did. Again, we don't know the internal conversations going on between the coaches, but they didn't have a whole lot of confidence in him taking those deep shots early in the year. He didn't take many, and the ones he took didn't look very good most of the time. There were some he threw that really didn't look good at all. But here's the thing. When you're, with the changes that they've made and with the way that they are now attacking with these receivers, he's getting to make a lot of throws where receivers are 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 yards open. And a lot of, that makes it a lot easier on the quarterback. Now the one with Emeka, it was a relatively tight window and he put it right there in the right spot. It was just a really nice throw. But it seems that for whatever maybe the hesitancy was at some points during the season to open up and throw that deep ball, that those hesitancies have, those issues have been removed, and they are now, they're now effectively attacking downfield consistently, and they're trusting Howard to go ahead and open it up. Slip and Skippy says they were chanting OHIO the entire time. That's awesome. I bet the Oregon fans were probably leaving with some long faces. That would be my guess. I don't know. Did anybody in the chat go? Fresh Ocean 609. Congrats, Rage and Mrs. Rage. Yes, congrats on that baby boy. And we're looking forward to hearing about his healthy return to the house here in the next day or so. But Ohio State was playing at a level that I think we all thought and hoped that this team could get to. And there was a lot of frustrating times along the way, and it seemed that they weren't going to do it. And one of the, kind of patterns that we've had in the Ryan Day era is teams typically have not caught fire or finished strong. Maybe they've kind of looked pretty good throughout the whole season, and it's just kind of stayed that. The problems that were there early seem to be the problems that were there late. There typically wasn't, it kind of was what it was. The team was pretty much week 4, what it was going to be week 8, what it was going to be week 12 for the most part. There's some exceptions to that. But there was not a whole lot of acceleration that you saw. This has been a dramatic acceleration. I don't think anybody thought it was going to take until game 13 for it to happen, but ultimately it doesn't matter when it happens. The fact that you could get through the regular season at 10-2, the Michigan loss once again being a good thing for the program. I won't say for the program, but probably a good thing for the season, because there's no way that that they're probably going to make some of these changes be as aggressive as they've been and just kind of play loose and free the way that they have without that Michigan loss. Maybe we're looking at a win against Tennessee and a close loss to Oregon if that doesn't happen. But as it is, they've got this team playing on all cylinders. They just have to stay close to this level, and there's nobody out there that is going to beat them. Now, let's talk about Notre Dame for a minute, because that's one of those teams that could be, down the road. I'm not trying to jinx anything. I know they got to get past Texas. I'm not underestimating Texas. Texas is a really good team. They're a very solid team, very capable opponent. Certainly could beat Ohio State on a given day if Ohio State doesn't play well. But if Ohio State plays well, they are just a better team. But Notre Dame, very physical team. Very similar team to Michigan last year. I don't think they're quite as good. I don't think their defense is quite as good, and their offense certainly is not as good. But they are a good team. We know what Penn State has. Penn State's playing their best. We're playing our best. If that happens in a matchup, we know who's winning that. Not saying we couldn't get beat by Penn State, but if we play our best and they play their best, we know who's winning that game. That's not in question. If we play our best and Notre Dame plays their best, we're winning that game. Notre Dame's offense is not good. Riley Leonard is not a great passer. He is a good runner. He is a threat with his legs. They have a physical offensive line, but even at that, they are very one-dimensional. They do not have a lot of ways that they can hurt you other than Riley running the ball or running the ball through the halfback position. And so the defense is really the key. That's what keeps them in games like with Georgia. Georgia's offense was not great this year. Georgia's offense was okay at times. I know they had a second-string quarterback. I'm not sure that Beck does that much better than the second-string quarterback. He was 20 for 32 for 239 yards or something like that. I don't know that Beck does that much better. I mean, maybe Beck doesn't fumble on the opening drive of the game like the backup did. I can't think of his name at the moment. Maybe he doesn't fumble, and that certainly was a turning point in the game. But he played probably about as good as Beck would have played. And Notre Dame completely shut that Georgia offense down for the most part. The Georgia offense had a very hard time moving the ball. So this is a good defense. Is it a defense that could stop Ohio State to, 20 points? No, not if Ohio State plays well. But it's a defense. It's an opponent that could be problematic if Ohio State starts getting clunky on offense. If the defense can't get off the field and they're able to control the ball and milk the clock and, drain the possessions by keeping it, this is Michigan. This is a Michigan type team. That's how they are built. That's what they want to do. They are not going to throw the ball for 250 yards and beat you. They're not. Riley Leonard probably won't throw the ball for 150 yards against the Buckeyes defense if they play. He may not throw for 100 yards if they play. But they are going to come at you with that run game. All right, let's take a couple of comments here. I did say to friends and family, if Ohio State wins the Natty, I got to get a tattoo. What are you getting, Slip and Skippy? You getting Ryan Day tattooed, on your backside or on your shoulder, on your back or something, a picture of Ryan Day. Caroline says, agreed, Buckeye fan 1870, whatever Buckeye fan 1870 said. They're finally playing the way we expect them to play all season based on the talent they possess. Yes, Buckeye fan 1870, I agree with you. Sometimes it takes time. We certainly thought we would have seen it before this point in the year. However, better late than never. And really, what better time than going into the playoffs? I think the team's confident. They know they can beat the best. And Texas, again, is going to give them a challenge. We'll get into that on Wednesday. James W., the pressure of expectations were off after the Michigan debacle. They have stopped playing tight and not to lose and have said, what the hell, let's play football and see what happens. Yeah, that certainly seems like what has happened. There has been a change in the team. There's been a change in the way that it seems like the game is approached. And you remember, I said going into the Tennessee game, they need to approach this like the 2022 Bengals: strike early and attack early. The 2022 Bengals, they wanted the ball, because when they got the ball, they went down and scored. And when they went down and scored first, they had like a 96% chance of winning the game, is what the things told them that year. And so this is the same. This offense can put tremendous pressure on defenses. If they can put up 21 plus points on Texas in the first half, then they're going to begin to put a lot of pressure on that Texas offense, because that Texas offense isn't great. It's not amazing. It's not bad. It's not as good as Oregon's, I do not believe. Maybe they'll totally prove me wrong, but I do not believe that Texas offense is as good as Oregon. Can we please not look ahead when we arguably played the second best team left? Yes, James. No, I'm not looking ahead. We're not dealing with Texas today. We're going to do that on Wednesday. I'm not going to spoil any of that or get into any of that or go into any of those stats or anything like that. So we're not underestimating Texas at all. Texas is a huge game, may be the best team left in the tournament, may not be, I don't know, but certainly is a good team, and absolutely, is going to present a challenge. I'm just saying, since we're not dealing with that today, I'm going to look ahead a little bit and just kind of tell you what I saw in the Notre Dame game. Penn State, we all kind of know what they've got. I kind of think Penn State's going to beat Notre Dame. I think they have a little better offense. I think their defense is good enough. And I don't think Notre Dame's offense presents like tremendous problems for Penn State's defense. I think Penn State has some weakness in the secondary, and Notre Dame does not really have the ability to stress that all that much. Either team could win. It's gonna be a heck of a game, I think, but I kind of go with I think Penn State may end up winning that game. Just need to keep swinging hard. A lot of football left. Don't let up and continue to play loose. Yeah, that's all you got to do. I mean, you got to go out, play 4 quarters against Texas, the way that you have played the last 8 quarters. It may not be the same outcome this time. It might result in a 31-24 Ohio State win. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you win by 1. Doesn't matter if you win by 20. Just win at this point, and go on. You get through this game, and for a fact you've got a very beatable opponent in the national championship game, whichever one it is. Not to say they're not a very good opponent, but a very beatable opponent. All right. So that kind of wraps up the Oregon game. Just wanted to kind of share some thoughts. Was certainly planning to have a little bit more of an in-depth episode. However, my partner in crime was not able to join tonight. So let's see. Any kind of final thoughts in the chat that you guys want to cover? Anything on your mind? You guys take the floor for the next couple of minutes. I'm not going to jump off yet if you've got some topics or issues you want to discuss. I'm just sitting here looking at the massive snowfall taking place here in Southern Ohio. It is snowing like crazy. Braxton Buxton, I can't believe we got up 34. No, that was crazy. That was hard to believe. And sitting in the Manning's bar in sports bar in New Orleans, they were mostly Georgia fans in there. Probably 70% Georgia, 25% Notre Dame, and a few others. I was the only one wearing my Buckeye stuff. I was the only one clapping and yelling when they scored. Everybody else was letting out exhausted gasp. Why were they letting out exhausted gasp? Because the Georgia fans were saying, oh, crap, we do not want to play them. Now, they don't have to worry about it because they didn't beat Notre Dame. But point being, none of the other fan bases in there were excited to see what Ohio State was doing. They were very, very concerned. through a turn of events with some things that happened in the Sugar Bowl and being postponed, and tickets being refunded to anybody who wanted them, and then some people having tickets that they weren't going to use anymore. So my friend and I ended up, we got into one of the boxes, and so in the box was a mix of Notre Dame and Georgia fans. And the Notre Dame fan that we kind of talked to there, he said, I don't think we can beat Ohio State. So that's the way that the other fan bases are thinking. The key is the Buckeyes, as Nick Saban used to say, cannot eat the rat poison. Or as Bill Parcells said, you can't eat the cheese. You can't listen to the press. Obviously, that's not our job. That's their job inside the Woody. That's their job inside the locker room. That's Ryan Day and staff's job to make sure that they are not listening to the press and make sure that they stay hungry. However, any reasonable person can look at the way that they've played and say if they play anywhere close to that level, then their chances of winning the national championship are extremely high. Wolf Packer, great job of carrying the show without rage. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. College football 25 did simulate Penn State versus Ohio State for the Natty. Wow. Slip and Skippy, did not know that. That was like they just did like one big simulation, and that's what they came with was Ohio State, Penn State. I wonder if the SEC fans realize NIL has ruined their dominance. I bet you $100 that's why Saban quit. He realized he wasn't going to have the highest payroll in college football anymore. Yeah, it's I don't think they think of it that way, but I haven't necessarily heard them connect those dots. I certainly think that's a part of it, the NIL. The Big Ten has been playing this long game with the Big Ten Network and alliances with Fox and then NIL, and everything kind of came together, and the Big Ten has risen, and I do believe that has leveled the playing field. The fact that SEC doesn't have to be maybe the predominant conference that is paying out the money. Did Ohio State, did Michigan, did any of these other schools ever pay anybody? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible. I'm sure there's certain things that went under the table, but I just don't think anybody in the country was doing things quite like they were doing them in the SEC. You would hear these weird things, these 5 stars that were going to, they were deadlocked to Alabama or to Texas or to one of those schools. And then they'd end up going to Ole Miss, like out of the middle of nowhere. And Ole Miss would get like 2 or 3 of them in a class. And so I definitely think that that was attracting maybe some talent that would have left the SEC to either stay in or go to the SEC back during those years. And now that advantage is gone. Oh no, Slip and Skippy said Penn State won the simulation. Well, it was just a stupid simulation. So we all know that the Buckeyes would take that game, or at least I believe they would. What a matchup. James Franklin and Ryan Day, the two most kind of complained about coaches on their fan base, both that win a lot but have not won the games. And it would be, one of them would have to win the big one. But, I think that Penn State fans are probably somewhat, pleased just to be where they are. Franklin's done a good job. Yes, he's had an easy route, but he still had to beat 2 teams. And he's gone out there and he's done it, and he's done it with relatively ease. So, I give him a lot of credit. I think his stock has helped. I think it's, as a coach, I think your confidence grows. I think Ryan Day's confidence is growing. He's believing in himself maybe for the first, I think really kind of for the first time, he's really believing in himself for the first time in a couple of years. Seems like he's kind of struggled with his identity in the offense the last couple of years, and kind of struggled about which way to go and how to build the team. And I feel like he's feeling confident. He feels like he's found his flow and his rhythm. And so, what we're seeing is a beautiful thing and a great product on the field. Slip and Skippy, the consensus in the chat is you're going to get a Ryan Day tattoo. So I don't know what you had planned, but that's the consensus in the chat is that if you've got to get a tattoo for the bet, then get a Ryan Day tattoo. I don't know that I trust Franklin in a talented game. He has beaten 2 teams that aren't close to Penn State talent. That's true. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Franklin hasn't been tested this offseason. We'll see how he does against Notre Dame. I can tell you this. Freeman is a force to be reckoned with. Freeman is a good coach. He is an aggressive coach. He's a tough coach. He's a coach that's going to be around. Is he always going to stay at Notre Dame? I don't know. If Notre Dame can get to the Final Four and potentially national championship games, then why not? But Notre Dame is a good, well-coached football team. And so, it'll be interesting to see him and Franklin go at it. 2 guys that have never been in this spot before. Oh, let's see. I would love to do a Ryan Day and this podcast in one. Okay. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. All right. Who we got? Okay. I think we're caught up on the comments. And I think that's pretty much all we got for tonight, unless you guys have something burning that you're wanting to bring up or to discuss. I know we've kind of moved through a lot and we haven't gone in a lot of depth tonight. We've just kind of hit the highlights of stuff, but a little bit of a change of plans as it was just me tonight. But we're back to our regular times, back to 9:30. And we'll be back Wednesday evening. That's when we will have the Texas preview. We will go in great detail. We will break down team stats, individual stats, try and come up with where we think this game is going to be won or lost, or at least give our opinion of it. And then there's nothing left to do but to watch and see if the Buckeyes can go out and bring another one home. James we've had some success in the portal. Yes, we have. There have been some portal signees. We've got some offensive linemen that we've brought in. I actually just pulled up that portal list today. Wasn't something that I had necessarily on the show notes, but yes, we have had some success in the portal. Let me see real quickly if I can find that and just give everybody a quick update if you haven't already heard. Okay. We just landed another portal guy, Ty Howard. I see signed with us today. Who is Ty Howard? He's a linebacker that had 52 tackles. Looks like he may be kind of a pass rushing kind of linebacker. Let's see. They have also added offensive lineman Philip Daniels, Ethan Ananawa, and tight end Max Clare. Now, the tight end is the guy from Purdue. He's good. Not that we don't have some pretty solid tight ends, but he's better, and he wanted to come, and so that's a good pickup. Philip Daniels, he is the offensive lineman who, transferred from, let's see, where did he transfer from? He transferred from Minnesota. It's a Princeton kid from here in Cincinnati. Was a kid that almost got a Buckeye offer out of high school, but went to Minnesota and seems to have developed there, and is looking like he may be ready to come in and help. We've got the big 6'6", 340-pound tackle out of Rice. That's Ethan Oninawa. I may not be saying that name right, but he's the guy out of Rice, and so certainly getting some help on that offensive line. And then they've got Logan George and CJ Donaldson, 2 guys that are potentially going to help on the defensive side of the ball. CJ Donaldson or Logan George is a guy out of the Division I AA. He dominated Division I AA. He's certainly a fast, aggressive type of player. I watched some film on him. He's intriguing. I don't quite know how he's going to fare with the big boys. He bullies those guys at the D1 AA level. So maybe it will translate well, but certainly have had some hits out of the portal. And a big Alabama offensive lineman, former 5-star, hit the portal today. Maybe that might become an additional target. Who knows? But, you know, seems like they're doing pretty well getting the offensive line there. They need to get more size at defensive tackle. Doesn't make sense. We aren't going after the big players inside. Yeah. You know, we've got McDonald who'll be back next year. He has done pretty well. I don't know about Malone from Mississippi State. I don't know where he's at as far as whether they think he's ready to step in, but he's a pretty big guy. But yeah, certainly is always helpful to have those big guys, especially when there's some talk of them doing some odd fronts next year, like a 3-3 or something like that. Then you definitely need that big, massive nose tackle. But anyhow, as far as we're going right now, we're still going with the 4-man front, and it is working pretty well so far. Great win against Oregon, and it's time to beat Texas. Yeah, Slip and Skippy, we just got a linebacker like an hour ago. Yep, that's the, I guess, the CJ Donaldson that I was just I'm sorry, the Ty Howard. That's the linebacker that we just got here recently. Don't know much about him yet. I'll check into him a little bit and see if we can give an update on that next time. All right, guys. Thank you. Hated it was just me. Rage will be back, and things will be rolling as usual at 9:30. Thank you guys for taking time to watch. Appreciate it. And we'll be back here in just a few days. Go Bucks.